episode 47, bonus show, 5-1, The Last Jedi Reactions. Hey, just a quick note to the listeners. Typically in this part of the intro, we put a funny quote from the episode in here. This time I thought I would give a little brief synopsis of our recording. It's split into two parts, and you'll hear the break about an hour and 5 minutes in or so. We went and watched The Last Jedi again this night, and we had our kind of before our second viewing and after our second viewing synopsis. And there was a very drastic change in tone for all of us on how we felt about this movie after the first time we watched it and after the second time. So if you're not digging what we're saying for the first hour of this podcast or so, stick around because we have a dramatic change in tone, and I think it's well worth a listen. Hey, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of 5-1. 5-1 is all about the countdown from our panel of experts on a different topic each week. Today we have a special bonus episode featuring our reactions from Star Wars The Last Jedi, not in our style of counting down from
5-1.
Alright, so we saw The Last Jedi last night, which was Thursday, December 14th, 2017. Technically, the opening night is tonight, December 15th on Friday, but they had some previews pulled into the night before, what they used to call midnight shows that start at 7 p.m. now. And we saw the very first showing that we could here locally at 7 p.m. And we waited in line. We got this year, I did not get reserved seats for us, right? So we waited in line. We got there at noon and waited 7 hours for the movie, and we weren't even first in the line.
And I have to say, totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Kate, how was the wait for you?
It was great. I actually really liked it. I had lots of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I got to try a lot of samples from a candy shop.
Yeah, we were at a mall, so
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys had the ability to roam a bit while I stayed in line. And it seemed like you guys had a lot of fun. And I tell you, even for me, sitting there for 7 hours, it flew by. It was fun because there were lots of fun people there. I got to talk to a lot of people.
Especially that one guy who knew so much about Star Wars.
That guy?
Yeah, that guy. And he kept talking about all the different types of theaters for like 30
Oh my
minutes.
gosh.
It's so hard because, like, he would keep talking to me. I'd just be like,
He was
get out of
talking
the
to you a lot.
conversation.
There was
You
a
looked
lot of
kinda interested.
there was a lot
No,
of
I
cool
wasn't.
people there. That guy had no social skills, man. He did not know how to hold a conversation.
And he was just excited to
The
talk to
other people that later joined in were way better.
Well, when he had something to say, it didn't matter what you were talking about, if it was relevant or not. He would just say it, and he wouldn't stop talking, even if nobody was listening or another conversation was ongoing. But outside of that, it was great. I had a good time. I thought you guys had a good time, too. Cade, you had a cool moment where you stripped down to your C-3PO wrestling singlet and an
Did a couple
R2-D2
flips.
skull cap, did a flip, and hyped up the crowd. When you ran to the other side of the theater, did you do more acrobatics over
I
there?
did flips and then a little like in between ribbon things, like holding people, and I jumped through those and did a roll on the other side.
Oh, okay.
Pretty epic.
I missed all that. I only saw what was on our side. But yeah, it was a fun day. How was the experience overall before we actually get to the movie?
That was really,
Pretty good.
really fun. I loved it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
The second trip, when we got moved, I think it was a little funner because there was that guy I was kind of annoying, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then those
You're
other
like,
people, and those other people came. They were a lot nicer, and they could talk.
Yeah, they were fun to talk to.
And if you're listening to this podcast, remember we were. How am I supposed to incorporate listening to the conversation? Hi to the person who was in line behind us.
Oh, yeah, because she said she was going to listen.
Yeah.
We didn't ever get her name, but really cool family that was right behind us in line. And hopefully you are listening, and hopefully you enjoyed the movie like we did. And we're about to get into that. But we should first, for all of our listeners, play... we will be spoiling the entire movie. So if you have not seen The Last Jedi and you do not want to be spoiled, you should stop listening right now, run down to your local theater, watch it right away. Why haven't you seen it yet? And then come back and listen to this episode. Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the movie. I don't have a real layout here as far as counting things down. I did go over some of our predictions from last episode and whether or not we got them correct, so we could run through those real quick. And then we could talk about things that we liked and didn't like. Before we do that, I think we should go around, just each of us say what your overall thought was on the movie. Yes, or you liked it, no, you didn't, you're not sure, and where you would rank it among the saga.
Obviously, we're all gonna like it because we all like every Star Wars movie. But I think we should do compared to the others a little bit.
Well, you could talk about both. So, okay, you go first. What did you think?
I thought there was a little too much comedy.
Okay.
I felt like they should have laid off
Before we
some.
get into any details, I just want to know, did you like the movie and where would you rank it in the saga?
Oh, I love the movie. And I'd rank it above Attack of the Clones,
Yeah?
above Rogue One,
Yeah?
above Revenge of the Sith,
Okay.
and behind everything else.
Behind
That's what
everything else.
That's
okay.
what Dad said.
No, that's a little bit better than I ranked it. Where would you rank it, Jet?
For me, I'd put it above Rogue One, above Attack of the Clones, above Phantom Menace. Not above Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, so there's 9 movies, right? Cade had it above 3 movies. That would put it 9, 8, 7, 6th. And where would yours be?
Well, if I put it, it's the same as his, 6.
Okay, 6th. I would have it 7th right now. I have it above Rogue One and Attack of the Clones, but behind everything else. Behind, and especially behind The Force Awakens, which is the most relevant comparison because it's in the same trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that because of that, I am a little bit disappointed, and I've never walked out of a Star Wars movie feeling disappointed, and I did last night because I thought it was going to be epic. I thought it was going to be better than The Force Awakens, and it wasn't, in my opinion. So I'm struggling with it a little bit. But after
Me and Kate thought it wouldn't be better than The Force Awakens.
You didn't think so?
No, I don't think it
I think no other Star Wars movie will be better than The Force Awakens. I think that's
You mean none of the
place-
future ones?
Yeah.
Because there are at least 3 Star Wars movies that are better than The Force Awakens right
yeah.
now.
There's only 3.
The Force Awakens.
But I'm saying in the future. That's why I said
Okay.
there's never any other Star Wars movie that's
See,
gonna be.
I'm not ruling
I
that
feel like
out.
we're like shaming it though.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm struggling with because I went on this long rant in our last episode about how people are going to complain, and now I feel like one of those people,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be that. I still liked it. Let me take that back. I still loved it. It's still Star Wars. It's another episode in the saga.
It'll still make your top.
Well, I don't know, but there are a lot of things that I liked about it, and we'll get to that. But then I have some gripes too, and we'll get to those too. What I don't want this to be is real negative because I'm not a negative Star Wars fan. I'm a very positive Star Wars fan, and I love the movie. It just wasn't as good as I was wanting it to be. And we're going to see it again tonight, and I think the more I see it, maybe the more I'll appreciate it. Rogue One did that for me, right? I didn't like it nearly. I like it a lot more than I did the first time I saw it. So I'm hoping that this one has kind of the same effect. When I walked out of The Force Awakens, I was so excited. I was so pumped up. We were like on cloud 9, right? And when I walked out of this one, I was like, gosh.
Cloud 8.
Yeah, cloud 8. Yeah, good point. All right, so let's just get started. Should we start with our predictions and what came true and what didn't? I can run through those real quick. All right, so we predicted, or at least I did, that Leia would live, and that was correct. I think now I'm going to amend that prediction just a little bit. I think that there will be a bigger gap in the timeline between episodes 8 and 9. It won't be like starting immediately after. And I think that Leia might die in that gap, just of like natural causes. And they might just even include it in the crawl at the beginning that says, episode 9, blah, blah, blah. Princess Leia has died, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think they might do it like that. The next one was Luke's saber did go to Rey. We predicted that it would, and we did see the green saber, but it was in flashbacks of when he was
I want to know where that is.
attacking Kylo Ren.
He probably still has it.
Maybe. We'll get to that. One incorrect one we had is that Luke did reunite with Leia. I predicted that they would not reunite. I can't remember what you guys
kind
said.
of reunited.
That's right, because it was in his like force vision of himself.
So technically, she
No,
didn't like,
they did
really like
reunite.
physically see him.
But he wasn't really there. He was.
But he could still talk. He
Yes.
was exactly the same. So
Yes,
yes,
so
that
they
counts.
Yeah, I counted it as incorrect, but I'm saying
I count it as correct.
no. I said that they would not reunite. So I'm saying my prediction was incorrect
Oh, yeah.
because they did reunite, but kind of because he wasn't really there.
Yeah.
Another one was I predicted that if he left the planet, it would be to save Rey, and that came true. Snoke ended up being Snoke, as far as we know. That was another correct prediction because that was I did think he was. You said he would be Plagueis, so I guess yours was incorrect. But maybe we don't know everything yet. Maybe we'll find out more at another time.
I honestly think now that's just Snoke.
Just Snoke. Maz Kanata was in the story briefly, but we didn't really learn any more about her, so I didn't count that one as correct or incorrect. Okay, DJ, the new character, totally nailed it. He was a hacker, he did help the Resistance, and he did betray them. I said all three of those things.
How did you know he was a hacker?
I just had a feeling from what I had seen of him in screenshots and things like that. He just kind of looked like a seedy underbelly of the society type character. I just thought it fit. Okay, another one we got correct. We did see Poe take a leadership role, right? Instead of just being the hotshot pilot.
We got him more. I'm happy.
And it even, like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when Leia got hurt and that lady was saying, the news is bad, Admiral Akbar's dead, everybody's dead except for Leia, and she's really injured. So the new leader is blah, 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 and it ended up being the chick with the purple hair. For a minute, it hovered on Poe's face, and it looked like he was like hoping he was going to say him. And it didn't end up being him. But I think that's like...
It would have been him if he didn't get demoted.
Yeah, it's foreshadowing. He's going to take over at some point. Maybe when Leia dies in between episodes 8 and 9. Another one we got correct. R2. He didn't have a large role, unfortunately, but he did play an important part in Luke's return to the Force.
The cheat move.
Yeah. We'll get to more of that later.
Well, he has to get a lot of things.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to try to speak quickly here. Finn and Phasma. We were correct and we were incorrect. I predicted that Finn would get his own subplot to stay relevant, which is exactly what happened. He didn't have a role in the ongoing story, but he left with Rose to go do that task on Canto Bight to find the hacker, and then ended up fighting Phasma. Phasma, not so much. She didn't really do anything until she fought Finn. She didn't have any plot of her own, and then she died, I think. Did she die? Do you guys think she's dead?
She's dead.
See, Kate's saying no. You guys can't hear that.
No. He's not dead. She's not dead.
It's a she.
And Jet thinks she's dead. I'm 50-50. I don't really know. I think she's dead as far as the story goes, but then they really wasted that character. So that part of me thinks like she's still alive, but maybe she's just a wasted character because she's so cool.
Her armor is like bulletproof.
Yeah.
You would think she could survive.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see.
See, that's terrible. That's terrible because if she's basically invincible if she can survive bullet shots and those
falling
fiery
into the
things.
fire. Yeah,
but she did get injured by Finn. So
Oh yeah, part of her mask.
we saw her eye.
Helmet.
Yeah, Hux survived, so I got that one wrong. I thought he was going to die. The one I think I nailed more than anything was Kylo Ren killing Snoke and taking over as the big boss.
Yeah.
I really nailed that prediction.
And Hux even calls him Supreme Leader.
He did, Supreme Leader.
I want to talk about later. Why did Kylo Ren kill Snoke? Was it for Rey or to take over?
Let's save it for when we get there. I only have a couple more, and then we'll get into the details. Reylo was hinted at, but not established, which is exactly what I said would happen. I don't know if they've totally closed the door on that, but they might have with his choice not to come with her.
I know I was totally bad about it, but after there was a lot of chemistry between them in that movie. I
Absolutely.
think they're gonna hook up. I think.
Now you're on board. You trashed that prediction so many times.
I really thought it wasn't gonna happen, but
And I don't think Rey and Finn would be a good couple.
They would have been fine, I think, but I thought Rey and Kylo would be more interesting. One that we got incorrect, Rey's lineage. I didn't have a real guess. Jet said Kenobi. We were both wrong. She ended up just being Rey with some...
We don't know if that's true.
It could be misdirection. What Kylo said was your parents were nobodies. They were basically alcoholics that sold you off to go buy more alcohol.
They were like screw-ups and they just sold her.
Yes. And that could be true. It could be misdirection. It could be... We don't know. But we don't know for sure. But as for now, we were wrong because I didn't have a prediction and you thought it was Kenobi. A lot of people thought it was Skywalker. None of those are correct.
I don't think it's gonna be. I never thought it was gonna be a Skywalker. That's way too obvious.
Well, it was a possibility. And two more I did get right that were honorable mentions. Chewbacca, he cooked a couple of porgs. We saw him barbecuing
But
them.
I was right too. He
Yeah.
He also made buddies with the porg.
Yeah. And
Actually, porgs.
see, the last one was we did see a Force ghost, which was Yoda. So,
Yay!
all right, so let's get into the details here. Should we start
Would
with
you rather seen Yoda or Ben?
Probably Ben.
If you'd asked me before the movie, I think I would have said Ben. But after the movie,
It makes more sense with Yoda. Like,
I'm kind of glad they picked Yoda.
yeah,
I don't know if it made more sense because I mean, Luke talked to Ben's ghost a lot in the original trilogy. He only talked to Yoda's ghost at the very end, Return of the Jedi.
yeah, but
wait, did he talk more overall with Obi-Wan or Yoda? Not just their ghost.
Probably Obi-Wan because he talked to him when he was alive and when he was dead.
Yeah, probably, but he already talked to Yoda's ghost because he wasn't dead for that long.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, but still, in Return of the Jedi,
That's like 40 years before.
Yeah,
Last
I
Jedi.
know,
Okay.
but I'm saying
They've both been dead for a long time. But he talked to Obi-Wan's ghost a lot more in the original trilogy.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, it's not what you said. Should we start with the things that we liked or the things we didn't like?
Didn't like.
All right, let's get those out of the way. My number one, well, this wasn't the number one thing I didn't like. I'll get to that in a minute. But the number one thing that stood out to me was flying frozen Leia through space.
Yeah.
So weird.
What the heck? It looks so weird too.
It looks so weird. So she gets blown up in the ship by Kylo Ren. Didn't pull the trigger. He couldn't do it. Somebody else did. One of the other TIE fighter pilots blows up the bridge of the ship. Admiral Akbar dies. Everybody dies except for Leia. She looks like she's gonna die, and then starts moving her fingers, and then does this weird Statue of Liberty pose, and just kind of soars through space. It was the weirdest thing. It just looked so wrong to me, and I hate to say this because I love Leia, and I would have been sad, but I kind of wish she had just died there for a couple reasons. Number one, we wouldn't have had the weird flying through space thing, and number two, maybe Luke would have survived, and we'll get to that.
I mean, maybe because maybe it's kind of cool because it's showing it's reminding people oh yeah, she's a Force user too.
I'm glad she used the Force.
No, I'm not. I think that's a terrible idea they had to use the Force that much. It just isn't right for Leia. She's old and stuff.
But I'm glad they showed her using the Force because they never really had. The only time we'd ever seen her kind of using the Force
connecting with
Luke in Empire Strikes Back,
and
then feeling Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens. Okay, and then here she's actually overtly using the Force, which I liked. She hasn't never been trained, but she has instinctual reactions to things.
I talked to my friend Jack today about this. He goes, "What the heck? What was going on there?"
It was so weird.
I don't like any of the Force idea.
Well, I don't mind. I like that she used the Force. The way they did it was weird to me. So that was the first thing. Now, one of the biggest gripes I had about the movie was the story that was driving much of the action and the plot was that for the last hour and a half of the movie, basically, the Resistance ship was just out of range of the whole fleet for the First Order. Mm-hmm. And they said they had enough fuel to last 18 hours. So for 18 hours, the whole First Order basically followed the Resistance ship just out of range and kept firing at it and firing at it and firing at it.
Now that I think of it, I don't think they could have caught up because what's it called? The girl purple hair is full speed, go full speed.
They have, but they're not going light speed. Couldn't the First Order have taken just one Star Destroyer and gotten light speed in front of, or to the side of, or to both sides of the Resistance ship, just to say, okay, we caught up with you. Now we're going to blow you up. I mean, they had multiple Star Destroyers. Couldn't they have taken one of them and moved it in front?
Hux said he wanted to wait too.
But that's my problem. It's a big hole to me because it doesn't hold up. It does not make sense, and it drove all the rest of the story. That's why Finn and Rose had time to go to Canto Bight to find the hacker, and Rey was training with Luke this whole time, and Poe was doing his orchestrations to try to get everything in order, and all this drama was happening, and I was fine with all that drama, but the reason they had all that time was because they were just following the whole time for 18 hours. They didn't have the thought to say, well, let's just go in front of them and blow up the ship, and then they're dead. So that bothered me.
They've ordered another dreadnought or another ship.
That's what I'm saying. They had the whole fleet. They could have done anything. And the other thing that kind of bothered me about that, and I need to see it again tonight to kind of get a better feel for the order of things, but in the beginning, we see this whole action sequence where Poe is flying the one X-Wing, and he takes out all those cannons on that dreadnought ship, right? Mm-hmm. And then they bring in the other fighters, and several of them have the bombs, but only one of them with the bombs makes it, and drops all the bombs, and that girl dies, remember? Mm-hmm. They lost almost every ship that they had in that battle. There were very few that made it. You saw them flying off at the end, and you saw Leia look at the screen that showed the ships that were dead, and there were like 5 that were left or something. So they almost all died. They get away, they jump through hyperspace, they get followed, and then they lose more ships, and then they lose the other 2 ships. All they have left is the main one. They go off in their transports, and they fire at those transport ships over and over and over again while Kylo and Rey are battling with Snoke and all of that.
Maybe we should count it today and see if it actually makes sense.
They probably blew up like 35 ships. So almost everybody died once, almost everybody died again, and somehow there's still people left. They get down to the planet that they're on, and they're in that base, and they send out all those speeders, and like every single speeder got picked off while they were flying towards the walkers. Mm-hmm. It was just, there were too many times when like just about everybody died except for our heroes, and still they have all these people. It didn't make sense to me. That bothered me. So that whole like plot, story, driving device is not believable to me, and that kind of ruins it for me. When I can't suspend my disbelief enough to say, yeah, this could happen, then it kind of wrecks things. Everything falls apart for me after that. What do you guys think about that?
Well, yeah, that doesn't really make sense, but see, that's why The Force Awakens is better. The story makes so much sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's held together better. It just bothers me, but I can get over it. Other things I didn't like, and Kate, you said this too. The humor did not work for me in this movie.
Too much.
It was too much, and they were trying too hard. Star Wars has funny moments. It is not a comedy, right? It doesn't fall in the comedy genre. And The Force Awakens was funny too, but it was here and there. It wasn't like
every single scene. There's at least one part
trying to be funny. It was trying too hard. I agree. The comedy did not work for me. It started off that way with Poe pretending he couldn't hear Hux, and Hux was having to repeat himself over and over again. And they did things like that in every scene, and some of them I laughed at. Some of them were good.
I laughed at that part.
Some of them were funny.
Yeah, my favorite part was when he couldn't hear him, because like, it was like part of the plan too.
Yeah.
And also, that happens a lot in real life. They're like, can you hear me?
Yeah. I mean, some of them worked, but it was just too much. And
I didn't like when Luke got the lightsaber and just threw it backwards.
That's one thing that's on my list here.
I didn't like that because
I didn't like it at all.
Look at The Force Awakens
at the very end of the movie where he's holding the lightsaber and he
just throws it over his shoulder.
That's not the problem. It's just that moment's so meaningful.
Yeah,
like
I get why they did it, because
after it was kind of funny though when the Porg was like stepping on the saber. It was like
almost,
right there.
Almost cooked a Porg on a lightsaber. That was funny, but when he took the saber, if the message to the viewer was supposed to be Luke doesn't accept this, he's not going to train her, he could have just handed it right back to her. I feel like it's almost, again, trying to be too funny, and in being too funny, it's being flippant and disrespectful of the history of Star Wars and that lightsaber and what it meant to Luke. I mean, he could have just looked at it and said, handed it right back and not said a word, or said, I'm done with it, or it's yours, keep it, I don't want it. He didn't have to throw it over his shoulder. For a second, I thought he threw it over the cliff.
Me too. I was like,
it's gone? For real? Like, you're kidding. So, yeah, I didn't like that either. Another thing I didn't like, we didn't find out any information on Snoke or his backstory, on who he is. I don't need to know. He doesn't have to be a character that's already in Star Wars. It would have been cool.
Yeah.
But he's so powerful. He dominated Rey. And since Rey and Kylo were roughly equal, he would have dominated Kylo.
Kylo's a little bit stronger, though.
Yeah, he's more trained.
He's more skilled, I'd say.
He is more skilled. But, what's his name? Snoke was super powerful. Super powerful. And he's the supreme leader. He got put in a position of leadership or power at some point. And he looks like he's been through a fire and then he got drowned or something. I don't know. He looks really bad. How did he get like that? How did he get to his position? How did he get so powerful? We didn't find out any of that, and then he died. Now, his death was cool, but I didn't like not knowing any of that stuff. Now, maybe we'll find out in dialogue in episode 9. Maybe there'll be a book or something. I wanted it to be in this movie before he died.
Yeah, but I really like that part, though.
The fight, yeah, the battle was really
let's
cool.
talk about it when we get to the stuff we liked. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, save the good stuff later.
Okay. not enough R2D2.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I want to see more of him.
I mean, obviously I'm
You already
biased.
said that.
Obviously I'm biased because R2 is my homie, man. He is my favorite character in all of Star Wars, him and Luke. And we hardly saw him. Now, he did play kind of an important role when he was there. In fact, when he played the message to Luke about...
I loved that
That was my
part.
favorite part in the whole movie. I love that part too. But it wasn't enough of him. And I think I know why. It's because they're building BB-8 now as the hero droid, and he had his heroic moments. And I like BB-8, but they've got 3PO in there quite a bit. He's kind of
Yeah.
in a dumb role. He only is annoying, but at least he's in there. R2, you only see him for a couple minutes the whole movie, and like R2 and 3PO, to me, that is Star Wars. They are Star Wars. They've got to be in there.
Like all over your shelf.
I know. And plus, he wasn't in The Force Awakens until the very end, and he woke up at just the right time, and he had the map to Luke Skywalker. They never even brought up, like, how come R2 had this map? I thought he was going to play a bigger role because of the fact that at the end of The Force Awakens, that's when he woke up. That's when he showed the map. That's how they got to Luke, right? And they never developed on
Yeah.
that, and that bothers me. No backstory on Lor Santeca. Do you know who that is?
Nope.
The guy at the beginning of The Force Awakens, the old man who gave Poe the map to Luke's.
He's just a little side character, though.
Yeah. But he knows the family. He knew Kylo
He
Ren
had
when
the
he got
map.
there. He had the map.
I mean, like,
When Kylo Ren shows up, he's like, you weren't always like this. This is not who you are. You know, he knew everything about Kylo Ren. I want to know who that guy is. He seems really interesting to me. And he's like... he's kind of... The actor is kind of like a famous type actor for... And like kind of like how
Old wise guys.
Alec Guinness was old Ben in the original trilogy. He needed a bigger role, and he was in it for a few minutes and then died. And I just felt like we were going to learn more about him, but we didn't. Two more things that I didn't like: the lightsaber. We did not learn how Maz Kanata got it. We only saw Maz Kanata for a few seconds
in a weird battle.
and then it splits in half, and it's done. Like that lightsaber.
That's
done.
sad. I
Yeah.
mean,
Now, it's cool to see the crystal inside. I thought that was cool, but I don't know.
I think she'll keep it.
Maybe she'll repurpose it. I don't know, but it's gone. And the last thing.
Maybe when she put it together, it's like Kylo Ren's lightsaber.
Oh, because his crystal is cracked?
Crackles.
Yeah, maybe.
Crackles.
The last thing I had that I didn't like was that Luke died. And the thing is, I thought the filming of his death scene was beautiful.
It was great.
I thought it was very well done. They showed the twin sons. They showed him disappear.
It wasn't twin sons.
yeah, it was just one son.
It was one son, but the clouds make it look like twin sons.
There were twin sons. It was supposed to indicate that, like, he was thinking of Tatooine in
there
his
was,
final moments.
There was one son, but it's supposed to be like two sons, like you're saying.
There were two sons, yes.
There were?
No,
Yes.
there were one son.
We'll see it again tonight. Pay attention. There's two sons in that scene. They showed the twin sons. And that's why I said in the theater, is he on Tatooine? Did you not hear me say that?
Well, because it shows one son, and then it shows the clouds, and then it shows two sons. So
So there were two sons.
No,
no,
there was only one son, but it's supposed to be like the scene from A New Hope.
When he sees two sons?
Yes, but there's only one son on
there's
that
only one
planet.
son.
I know there's one son on that planet, but when he was dying, he saw two sons.
Oh,
That was one son, and the clouds were over it.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but we'll look at it again tonight. I saw twin sons. Luke saw twin sons. And it was, he disappeared like we saw Obi-Wan and Yoda disappear, and then his cloak kind of fluttered into the wind. And I thought it was very beautifully done, but I was not ready for him to die. Maybe this is one of the big reasons why I get so hung up on this movie. I don't know. It didn't, like when Han died, I was ready for it. His character had run
It's
its
like
course.
on the big long thing, you're like, oh, he's dead.
Well, yes, but I mean his character arc, his had run its course. There was no more development for Han Solo. I mean, maybe he could have saved his son. He didn't. But that was it. Luke still had more story to go. He was the legend that he referred to himself as many times during the movie, that he bought into that maybe and then maybe was overconfident because of it, because he was a legend. And then he had how many years in exile where he did nothing. And then at the very end of the movie, he has one final act, which is awesome. But we never even got to see him actually hold a lightsaber and battle somebody. I wanted to see
just
him
a fake one.
kick some ass.
Yeah, I want to see him beat up some guys.
And he could have had a role in episode 9 and then passed away. He should have been one of the last characters to go because he's Luke Skywalker. And
He's my favorite character.
I just was not ready. So those are the things I didn't like. Let's go to the things we did like.
Finally.
All right.
So, and on a good note, that's why I wanted to do this.
And what I thought we could do is we'll pause this recording and then we'll come back. And if we have anything to add after we see it tonight, we can add it on right then.
When are we leaving, by the way?
Huh?
When are we leaving? Like, how long until we leave?
A couple hours.
All right.
All right. So the Rey and Luke stuff, I liked pretty much everything with Rey and Luke.
I liked it when they fought.
Yeah, because Luke was beating her like pretty easily until she picked up a lightsaber, and he's like, "Whoa, I don't."
chill out, chill.
Yeah, like you're gonna kill me if you hit me with that thing, right?
But he could have beaten her with.
Oh yeah,
with that.
but he had cut himself off from the Force, so he was not quite in his full power.
I like
there.
his fishing.
His fishing.
But he
was
did
cool.
use the Force when he fell. That was cool. When he was falling on the rocks, he used the Force to levitate himself.
I mean, he was falling backwards, and then right when he fell to the ground, he healed himself up, and then he went down.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that, really?
No.
Watch it again.
Just
you'll
see
see it.
he was like going down, and he paused for a second, and then he went down slowly.
Yeah.
What part is this? When he was fishing?
No. When they're fighting, he picks up the lightsaber, and he like falls back. He like holds himself up.
When
and
they're
then-
fighting with
Oh.
sticks.
Okay, no, I didn't see that. All right, I liked this stuff. I liked how when they trained. Some of it bothered me, the comedy, like when she was like, "Oh, I feel it," and he slapped her fingers.
That was funny.
That's the kind of comedy that didn't work for me. It's too that scene is too important. He's talking about something too important to. I don't know.
make a joke out of it.
And maybe it just didn't work because it's Luke. It might have worked if it was Yoda. That fits with his character more. But I didn't buy that. But I did like most of the stuff on that island when they were there. And when they left the island, I wanted them to go back to it because that stuff was more interesting to me.
Same here. Like when it showed them,
I
I
want to hear more
was
about
yes,
those like
this
ancient
part.
ruins on the island, like what those caretakers were doing. Like,
Yeah.
they were like so mad. They're like, oh, she blew it up, and then
That part was funny. I did like that stuff. What were you saying, Jet?
I don't know.
I wanted to know more about what was in those books too before they lit on fire.
hey, Finn has them.
Those weren't the books.
Yeah, they were. They were the exact same books.
So what you're talking about is at the end, they're in, what are they in, the Falcon, or they're on some ship and they show some scrolls or books or something. I don't think those are the books.
No, it's when Finn's packing his bags to leave, like on the escape pod. He opens, there's like a bunch of like old books in there. I was like, those are kind
No,
of familiar.
those are not the same books.
I don't think they're the same books.
They're probably not, but they look like old books.
Yeah,
but
they're not the books
yeah.
from the movie. I don't think they are.
They definitely are. It doesn't make sense. He was never there.
They had a really cool opportunity being on this planet, the original Jedi Temple, to like really dig into the lore of the Jedi, and they didn't really take advantage of that. You would have thought that Luke went there to learn something or to. The whole message was, what it seemed was, Yoda comes in and he burns the whole place, and he's like, "You need to let go of this stuff. The Force isn't what's in these books. You don't need to protect this. The Force is what's in Rey and what's in you, and what we do with it." Which I get the message, but it also could have been really cool just to learn about the history of the Jedi, the origins of the Jedi, and we didn't really get any of that. But I did like a lot of the stuff between Rey and Luke on that planet. What about the Porgs? What did you guys think of the Porgs?
They were great.
I liked them.
And they weren't really a small role. They were pretty big.
I think they were exactly what I said they would be.
No, they're
They were
not
there
really.
for cuteness and comedic relief. They didn't do anything else.
Well, yes, but
There's
they were
always too
in
much
it.
comedic relief.
What, Jet?
No, the Porgs were absolutely perfect.
They were fine, but when you say they had a big role, they didn't have a role except for cuteness and comedic relief. They
No,
didn't do
I'm
anything.
saying they were in it more than I thought.
Okay.
They were.
I
awesome.
like they made their home on the Falcon.
Yeah, there were a whole bunch in there.
I was right. They did become buddies.
Yeah, I never said they wouldn't. What I said is he was going to eat one.
They look
you were
like buddies.
just-
Like
no, you were
Chewbacca
gonna-
kind of annoyed of him. Like
He knocked him off.
like-
though.
That was playing around.
Well, I mean, Jet, what you're saying,
Why didn't you
what
do
you're
that all
saying,
the time, Kate?
what you said, Jet, was your prediction. Was in the trailer. We saw the Porg on the Falcon with Chewie in the trailer. Like we already knew that was going to happen.
No, you
Yes.
did not. That was not what you thought.
I didn't have to think it because I already. It's a known fact. It's like
You-
saying.
you did not
it's like
know
saying.
that.
Yes, I did.
it's like saying, I think
It's like,
Chucks exists.
Luke is going to be in this movie. That's my prediction. No, we already know that because it's in the trailer. Like we saw that was going to happen. My prediction was that Chewie was going to eat one, and he cooked two of them. Now I might be wrong that he didn't actually eat them because he kind of threw it down when that other Porg was looking at him. Like, what are you doing? So
No, both ways you're wrong.
okay, all right, Jed. The Rey Kylo connection. What'd you guys think about that?
Their fight was the best fight in the movie.
Not the fight. The connection. The
Are we going to talk about the fight?
Yes, but not yet. The mind connection that they had, where they were like seeing each other through the Force. Somehow.
That-
They were pretty much in love.
What did you think of the connection?
Liked it.
I thought that was really good.
At first, I was like, I didn't buy it at first. I thought that, how are they seeing each other like that and talking to each other? But then when it happened a couple times, I was like, hey, this is kind of cool, actually. This is something we haven't seen. And then I liked how it was orchestrated by Snoke, and it wasn't just something that
Random happened.
Yeah, that would have bothered me if it was like somehow they're randomly connected through the Force and can talk to each other. It was because Snoke built that connection. So, Jed, why are you getting so annoyed, man?
Because just keep going.
Okay. So I did like that. Do you think it is at all similar to the way Luke kind of gave a Force vision of himself on another planet that looked real?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So Kylo Ren wasn't really in Rey's hut, but when Luke walked in there, he saw him and he was touching Rey's hand, but he wasn't really in there. So that's kind of similar to what Luke did when he projected himself onto...
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if it's the same type of Force usage or not.
No, I don't know what you're talking about when he projected himself to that planet.
At the final battle, Luke wasn't on the planet. He was on Ahch-To. He wasn't really there fighting Kylo Ren. So to me, it's kind of a similar type thing. Okay, another thing I really...
It's pretty similar, but the difference is it's pretty similar.
The action sequences were visually stunning. Like when the ship, the resistance ship, when they jumped to light speed and went through the First Order ships.
Do you think she's alive?
No, but that was really, really cool. A lot of the space battles were.
People in the theater were like,
what happened too? Space was dark. It was dark after you could see stars and lights and whatever from the ships. But after that happened, and you just saw the broken ship, the whole space around it was just dark.
Yeah,
it was weird. It's like a star went off.
And I liked a lot of the space battles. I thought they were all really done well visually. And I think that's the strongest point of this movie, actually, is the visual language.
And I'm happy that they haven't got rid of X-Wings yet. I'm happy they're still part of Star Wars, and they haven't advanced on from that.
Yeah, they are a little different. The wings open up differently than the original ones do.
Nothing compares to the original.
But you would expect that. It's many years later. The tech changes. What was your guys' favorite kind of battle scene or action scene?
Definitely the Praetorian Guard.
Rey and
Kylo Ren. Reylo. Yeah, so that was the next one on my list when Rey and Kylo battle Snoke and the guards. They
didn't have a lightsaber battle, and they didn't say I got a bad feeling about this.
Oh yeah, did they not say that at all?
I don't think so. When did you ever hear it?
I can't remember hearing it. I'll try to pay attention tonight to see if it's in there anywhere. But yeah, the whole battle was cool. I liked the way that Snoke was killed. It was a little bit annoying in a sense that Snoke was it was too much on the nose. You know what that means? He was calling it play by play what Kylo Ren was doing. He's going to kill his true enemy by turning his lightsaber and igniting it right now. And then it happened. It was a little bit too on the nose, too perfectly described, that Snoke would describe his own death that way. But outside of that, I get why he wouldn't sense it coming.
He's just so focused on Kylo just becoming who he should be.
Yeah, he thought he was totally in his control, and I get that. But it was really cool when you saw the saber ignite and go through Snoke and then get pulled forward. Rey catches it in the air.
That really reminded me of Return when that lightsaber was turning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That reminded me so much.
And then Snoke's body, half of his body falls over onto the floor and his hand is left on the throne.
Oh, yeah.
It's because he was laying back on his chair and his hand was resting on the side thing.
Yeah.
And so he just cut his wrist off.
Well, it was, I thought about this because the saber went through his stomach and then pulled forward. So how did it cut his whole body in half?
I think it went
through his hand, through
back, through the very back of him.
Well, I think it went through him, but I think that like
I don't think it went through him.
It
because
burned his. Since it burns you, it burned enough. It's hot enough to burn through the rest of him. In other words, like liquefied him.
It did go through him. It definitely did not.
I mean, he looked down at it and then looked up.
Yeah, it was going through his body.
Yeah,
it wasn't behind him at that point.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. It was
face.
through his body, but I think it burned enough to where his body would still fall apart afterwards. So then Rey catches the saber. They fight the Praetorian guards. My favorite part is when Rey kills her Praetorian guard. The whole thing was cool, but then she throws the saber to Kylo, and he catches it and ignites it, and it goes right through the head
and he turns it off.
Yeah.
There's two really strong. I know all the Praetorian guards. There's the normal one, with two. And then there's that one with like kind of hat shader that can make into double.
Yeah.
And then
there's the
my
whip.
personal favorite one is the whip.
Yeah.
That's
and their arms are like
the strongest one is the ones where they can do that double.
Yeah.
That's what hurt Rey. They're like the the elite. But the coolest ones are the whip because like once you get the lightsaber, you can pull up them to you. Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
Their arms are like lightsaber proof.
Were
No, they're not.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they are. Like if you notice,
No.
Rey's fighting that one guy with a double, and she hits his arm. He bounces it off like this. Like all of their weapons, like they were just, like the guy with the whip like was wrapping around his arm, and the other guys were like wrapping them against the like.
I mean, it can take a lightsaber, but their armor is not lightsaber.
It's just their arms.
I'll have to watch again because I
I
didn't
don't think
notice
so.
that. But the whole battle was cool, and that whole room was like it looked really cool. It was very visually appealing, and then at the end they were like they'd trashed the room, and they were kind of embers falling in the background from all the different explosions and other things they'd done to
I
trash
feel like
that room.
Kylo got a lot more powerful in this one.
Well, so they kind of explained that, and I'm glad they did. Kylo looked a lot better in that battle than Rey did. He looked a lot more trained. Rey took out a couple. Kylo took out a lot. Now, Rey held her own. I mean, she survived. But I liked that they explained it because Snoke said to Kylo, you let that girl beat you. She never even picked up a lightsaber. You're such a disappointment. And Kylo's like, I gave you everything. I killed Han for you my father with no hesitation. And he said, yeah, you did, but it like tore your soul up so much that you were weak afterwards, that you let a girl beat you who had never held a lightsaber. And I kind of liked that they explained that because it left a lot of people wondering why is Rey able to beat Kylo already in The Force Awakens when that happened.
It's because he was weak.
He was weakened by killing his father, which was supposed to make him stronger. It was supposed to push him over the edge of the dark side. Instead, he was really torn about it, and it weakened him. So I'd like that they explained that. What did you think of the way Snoke looked in person?
He looked awesome, but
He looked beat up.
Yeah.
Well, he's been through a lot.
He looks awesome,
I think they pulled it off. I was a little bit afraid because he's all CGI that it was going to look kind of cartoony.
But he's CGI all?
Yeah.
All.
Well, it's motion capture plus CGI. So it's the guy who played Gollum, Andy Serkis, is also Snoke. And
why is it always freaks?
because
movies?
he kind of like started his own company for this type of motion capture technology, and it's the best one. So a lot of movies use it. But they really pulled it off well. I think that he looked really good, and it didn't seem too cartoony to me. I thought it was
looked
good.
awesome.
He looked like all the other aliens in the movie.
Yeah.
And my favorite alien, Poe's friend. Like the green and yellow, the blue.
Oh, you kept talking about him. Yeah.
The one with
He survived every time.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like a big hero.
True. He did make it all the way through. What about Kylo Ren losing his helmet or destroying his helmet? What'd you guys think of that?
I think it's
Crazy. He was mad.
I think it was awesome for two reasons. The first reason, Snoke was like talking bad about him and like take that ridiculous thing off.
Yeah, kind of
And-
put him in his place.
And that got him mad, which
Yeah.
I like a character. That's what I like about the character. The second reason, I couldn't understand all that in the beginning of the movie.
Well, I think they did that intentionally because in The Force Awakens, I could understand him with his mask on. I had a hard time understanding him in this movie.
I
before
did
he
not
took it
understand
off.
him at all.
And I think they did that intentionally. Now, the theater that we're seeing it in tonight has a better sound system than the one we saw it in last night. So maybe it was just because we weren't at a great theater last night, but I had a really hard time understanding him until he took his helmet
Yeah,
off.
it was weird. It was like, and then
Yeah.
something.
And I did like his scar. I didn't notice this until
Yeah, it went like all the way
started
down.
on his forehead, went all the way down his face, down his neck, and onto his chest. In that scene where he's talking to Ray
When he's shirtless.
when he's shirtless, yeah, you could see the scar go all the way down into his chest. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
It was a massive wound.
I did not realize. I thought it was going to be like Anakin, just a scar, but it went all the way there.
Yeah, yeah.
it looks a bit like Snoke.
Yeah, well, not quite as bad as Snoke.
Snoke's is like
I did like in the beginning when Snoke was on a hologram talking to Hux and he like threw his body down.
Yeah, he's so powerful.
he looked mad at him.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like,
And he's so messed up though, because there's like a butt right here and a little scratch mark, and then like there's a whole hole of part of his.
Like his whole jaw
Yeah.
is missing on one side. Yeah, that's what I want to know. What happened to that guy? What is he human or some other?
he should have done
alien?
what Malik done and wore a sick mask.
Yeah, instead of that gold dress or whatever the heck he's wearing. Yeah.
Makes him look royal.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You caught on to that bit late, Jet.
Well, so Kylo smashes his helmet. I liked it because I think I liked his helmet in the first movie. In the second movie, I think he looked better without it.
He did. His armor is a little different. I thought he looked better without
I thought
it.
he looked better without it, and I think that it was kind of his character being reborn a little bit. He smashed that mask.
Revan
cooler.
Born.
He has a new purpose. I think that was the moment when he first started thinking about taking down Snoke, and then it got pushed over the edge when he's in there and he hears that Snoke was the one who made this connection. He was playing me and Rey at the same time, and he's talking about how he's in control and they're both too weak and blah blah blah. Then he's like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to kill Snoke.
But
I was like, bro, I thought I had like an actual connection. Because he likes her.
But going back, I'm thinking, what I said earlier. Why did he kill Snoke? What reason was it for?
I just explained it. Number one, he's not Sith, but he's a dark side user. And the dark side users always want to be in control. They always want to take down the leader as soon as they're powerful enough to do so. That's kind of the Sith mantra. As soon as you're powerful enough, you should be the leader because you're more powerful than they
aren't
are.
some Sith like acceptant of it? Like they're like, okay,
Yeah.
I did it. I did good. I trained him well.
Yeah, once they are ready to be taken down, and they try to avoid it, right? Because they want to stay more powerful. But number two, just all the stuff I said. He was putting Kylo in his place. He was really disrespecting him and saying, take off that stupid helmet. You look ridiculous and you're weak. And I thought you were this great thing. I thought I saw something in you because you had the Skywalker blood, but I was wrong. All you are is weak and pathetic. He like trashed him, right? And that upset him. And then he still does what his master says to do. And he brings Rey there. And while he's there with Rey, Snoke goes on about how he was the one who created this whole connection, and they're both weak. He knew that Rey would be too dumb enough to not follow, and he knew that Kylo would be weak enough to follow that connection and that link. He was putting him down while he was right there. Then he says, kill her, and he's like, I kind of like her, and you're an asshole, so he kills Snoke instead.
Yeah.
And so then I think...
I'm in love with her.
And then they have this moment. It was almost like Anakin and Padme. He's like, hey, look around us. We just defeated this. We're in charge now. We don't have to go to the Resistance. We don't have to be Jedi. We don't have to be anything. We can make it our own. Come rule with me. She's like, no, you're going down a path I cannot follow. Like,
Yeah.
like what Padme said. Almost, it was almost the same thing, right?
At least it wasn't that bad.
And Luke is like, and also Luke is like, he's like, sorry. And then Kylo's like, liar.
No flying fruit. No sand.
Sand is everywhere.
I love the Last Jedi. I definitely like it more than the other three, but I think I like Revenge a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about Kylo Ren now after this movie compared to before? Do you like him more?
I like him more now.
I do too.
I'd like him like 10 times more.
I
He's
do
one
too.
of my favorite.
He's
He's
just
one of my
whiny and
favorite
more
new
like-
characters.
Mature, I guess.
He's still very emotional. Certainly, he is controlled by his But it seems more like he has more of a purpose now than just losing his.
He looks
his
a bit
temper.
different too.
He does, but he would just lose his temper a lot before. Now he's got a purpose with that emotion. You saw it come out when he saw Luke. He said, I want every gun firing at that man right now. And they fire from like 10 different AT-ATs.
And then he's like, fire!
Yeah, and it goes on for a minute, and Hux is like, you think you got him?
Yeah,
which was
funny
funny
there.
But that is the guy he sees Luke. That's the guy that from his youth, his uncle, that he in his mind tried to kill him. He's like, take him out now. So he's still very emotional.
I don't blame him that much.
But he's got a purpose. Well, that's the thing. Let's look at it from Kylo's perspective.
Luke just casually walks out.
Yeah, that was funny. Brushes the shoulder off. Let's look at it from his perspective. We saw kind of 3 different flashbacks when they talked about this. The first one was when Luke said, yeah, I sensed evil in him. I went to check on it, and then he woke up and tried to kill me. He didn't tell the whole story, right? And then the second one is Kylo Ren's point of view, and he says, I woke up, and there was Luke trying to kill me with a lightsaber, so I defended myself and left. And then we see the third perspective, which is Luke again, this time being fully true, saying, I did ignite my lightsaber. I thought I could take him out when I saw the evil that was in him, but then I was ashamed that I even did that. And by that point, it was too late. There were consequences because he had seen me, and then he tried to attack me and tried to kill me, and then left with, half of the students, which I guess are the Knights of Ren. We never learned anything more about them. But from Kylo's perspective, he woke up, and there's Luke with a lightsaber hovering over him. He probably knew that he had some darkness in him, and now he knows that Luke has sensed it, and instead of talking to him about it or trying to work it out, he's trying to kill him. So
that's kind of Luke. That Luke did fail him. Like
he did.
When Obi-Wan said,
I
failed you, Anakin. I failed you. Well, no, you didn't. He failed you. And then... But this time, I think Luke failed Kylo a little bit.
He did. The question is, would Kylo, having that darkness inside of him, have gone dark no matter what?
I don't.
Or did he go dark because Luke failed him at this moment? Or was that just the catalyst? I mean, we don't know. There's no way to know.
I mean, I haven't sensed this much raw power since... And then... I mean, like, he's probably talking about Kylo there, right?
Yes, he said since Ben Solo. In the movie.
If raw power isn't like contained good enough, then it's.
But it's not the power that made him go dark. He had the darkness inside him. Luke sensed that there was dark inside of him, and then he kind of did a mind read or whatever. Horsepower.
I think he sensed. It's really hard to say, but it's hard. But I think Luke, maybe I don't know. Somehow he like sensed kind of how Palpatine did it to Anakin, he would seduce him with these visions, but that no one ever did it to Luke. But I think it was like kind of seeing there's dark in him and stuff, and he thought he made the choice of what made him go driven to the dark.
I mean, if you were in his position, what would you do? Would you kill him right there?
If I was in Kylo's position or Luke's?
Luke's.
I would not have killed him. He should have given him the option to go dark. Now, I get why he did, because he thought this is going to happen and I can stop it right now, and I get why he was tempted. But the problem is he should have thought about it a little bit more before he ignited his lightsaber. I mean, that's really what the problem is. He could have even done the mind read on Kylo, and then Kylo catches him doing that, and he's like, bro, what's wrong with you? Why do you have all this darkness? We need to work on this, right? And maybe Kylo would have chosen the right side, but he didn't give him the choice before igniting the lightsaber.
Yeah, because Kylo had his dad and mom at the time.
That kid?
He had Han and Leia at the time, and Luke.
Yeah.
I think Luke, it's a lot of Luke's fault.
I think that Kylo felt like Luke gave up on him, and then when he reacted the way he reacted, he made a dark choice at that point by killing half of the students and taking the other half. And at that point, it's kind of like Anakin's like, what have I done? Type of moment. He can't go back to his family. So then he feels like his family also abandoned him. And it's like a pity party for me, right? All right, so that's a lot of Kylo. I think they did well with this character in this movie. And Adam Driver, the actor, I thought he nailed it. He's really good. Really, really good.
So, wait, was that him playing, like, the kid Kylo? Or was that an actual kid?
No, that was him. They just made him look
younger. I
think
Rey went a little dark in this movie, too.
When did she go dark?
When she was using the Force and all those rocks and stuff, she saw that dark hole and she didn't even stop.
Yeah, but I wonder, I mean, she probably doesn't know. Like, maybe it felt different, but she doesn't know dark side light, so she hasn't been trained at all.
But also, she was trusting Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Luke trusted his friends, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I think that Luke was just being so close-minded at the time that he's like, well, I can't believe you just went right to it. Like, he was just saying, it was like an excuse for him to not train her or to stop training her or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke's Force vision of his body at the end in that battle was an awesome display of power. I thought that was really, really cool. You see him then like kind of floating up above that rock afterwards when you realize that it's not really him there. There were a few like things that were weird that I didn't quite put together that it wasn't really him. It was a force vision until the end, but he looked younger. His beard was shorter and it was brown instead of gray, and his hair, he looked like Luke from the flashbacks, right?
Yeah, he looked exactly like him.
And then he goes out there and he doesn't ever really fight Kylo.
He dodges
him the whole time.
I like you said from earlier when we were talking not on the podcast, I think he was doing that because Kylo would realize if he put his lightsaber through Kylo's, it'd just go right through it.
However, you're right, and I said that last night. However, he did touch Leia. He like kissed her on the forehead. So that he must have some ability to touch when he wants to and then not touch when he doesn't.
It probably exerts him a lot, though.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking. If you're in a battle and you're like, I don't want to get cut by a lightsaber, he's in the mode where I don't want to get touched here, so I'm just going to be an apparition.
And he's also thinking, I don't want to fight Kylo.
But one thing I noticed too, and I'm going to pay more attention tonight, when they were in that lightsaber fight, they showed their feet a couple of times. And I'm wondering if that was because when Kylo would move, you would see the red that was underneath the salt, that red soil or whatever it was.
The red is the salt.
No, the salt's on top. The red is what's underneath.
Oh.
And then when Luke, they showed his feet, maybe you didn't see the red. Maybe that was another clue that he wasn't really there, because they focused on their feet for a few seconds there. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Kylo, right before Kylo tried to strike him, he turned and then boom. And then,
so
and then when Luke dodged it, he turned and then boom.
I'm wondering if they focused on their feet to kind of like another clue that he's not really here. I'm going to pay attention to that again tonight. But awesome display of power. It was like probably the coolest force power thing we've ever seen in a Star Wars movie. And I thought that was cool. Now, I wanted to see Luke with a lightsaber, actually, like real Luke with a real lightsaber. But
the coolest display of force ever is in Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
Let's keep it on this movie. This is already going to be a long podcast. But another thing that was a clue about that was Luke was holding the blue lightsaber in that. But when he ignited the lightsaber, I was like, what lightsaber is that? Because we know that Rey has the blue one. So what is this blue one?
And also we know that we saw it got split in half.
It hadn't been split in half yet at this point, I don't
Really?
think. Yeah, because
they were
happening at the same time. Kind of. They were going back and forth. Rey was still battling, and then Luke comes down there. Rey left afterwards and then lifted the rocks and got them all out of there. But at that time, when Luke lit the blue, I was like, Rey has that saber right now. How does he also have a blue saber? Is this another one? Because I would expect it as green one there.
I want his green one. I want him to fight.
I know.
And he shouldn't have died there. It's just a little stressful. He's trying hard not to flip out of the theater.
How did you feel about Yoda?
I liked him. I thought it was really cool.
What was wrong with him? He was great.
I just want to know your opinions. You thought it was great? I liked that we saw Force Ghost. I liked that it was Yoda.
I like his, it really seemed like him from the Return of the Jedi.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back, yeah.
It did seem like kind of goofy.
The laughy and the...
Goofy and funny Yoda from Empire Strikes Back.
But still wise.
I liked that version better. I liked the lessons that he gave Luke. They were very reminiscent of the same lessons he taught him. He even said some of the same lines from the original trilogy. He looked a little weird visually to me.
His lips.
And what I think it is, this is a guess, I don't know, but in the original trilogy, they used a puppet for Yoda. And then in the prequels, they used a puppet for the Phantom Menace, and it looked really bad.
That looked the worst Yoda.
So they replaced him with CGI, and it looked a lot better, okay? I think they went back to a puppet, which is fine, but if it's not on Dagobah and that lighting that's kind of foggy and dim, it doesn't look right. It just doesn't look like...
It looked good to me.
It looked a little weird to me, and I think it's because they used a puppet. Now, the other thing that bothered me a little bit was because he seemed to have too much real-life power. He was like knocking Luke on the head with his cane, and he brought lightning down and struck that tree. It's like, dude, if you're that powerful when you're a Force Ghost, why not just die and become a Force Ghost? You'll be way more powerful than you would be alive.
There was like a way different message of why Obi-Wan came with a Force Ghost.
Yeah, and they haven't really laid out the rules of that. Maybe they can only do it once and every now and then as a spirit. It takes a lot of Force energy or something. I don't know, but if that's the case, and you can just do that stuff.
in previous comics and stuff, like when Force Ghosts come to see you, it's like this takes a lot of me to do this. And
yeah, and so but they never explain that in the movies. So I thought he was a little bit too powerful for being a spirit, but I liked that he was there. I'm really glad, and I like that
when he's walking up, and then like the camera's like going, and then you see the back of his head. We're like,
yeah, we all kind of freaked out when we saw it was Yoda. But something visually looked off. I thought he was too powerful, but aside from that, it was really cool. I think that I like that it was Yoda that convinced Luke to go back, and it was kind of R2 that started that ball rolling by playing him Leia's old message, right? That kind of got him.
Also, I loved it because when Luke saw C-3PO, he like winked at him and just walked away. But when he saw R2, he was like, R2!
Yeah.
He was happy.
Exactly. Another thing that I kind of liked and kind of didn't like too, but I put it on the like list, was the Finn, Rose, and DJ subplot that they had going on when he had to go to Canto Bight. There was some clunky dialogue in that scene, and the mission even failed. It didn't really serve a purpose, but it gave Finn something to do. So I at least like that. And I like the connection that Finn and Rose had.
I like Rose.
Yeah.
I like Rose too.
She's like in love with him, totally. I wonder if he loves her back. He seems like he did, because he brought her in when she was injured, and he was kind of tending to her, and Ray noticed it. Did you see that? Ray kind of looked over.
Yeah, Ray was like, when Ray finally came back, and they're all chilling on the ship.
She wasn't really jealous.
No, she smiled.
She looked around, and looking at everyone's like, oh, I'm finally back. She looked at them, and then like Finn's like, I right by her side, like on the bed thing, and she's like, that little smirk, and then Leia comes over, and then
right. So she kind of like recognized, oh, look at that, they have something.
That's happy.
Yeah. So I like that.
And I'm in love with Kylo Ren so much, and it's just.
Right. BB-8, I thought had a lot of good moments in that whole subplot. I liked when he spit out all those coins, kind of like they were bullets. I didn't like how he blew the end of the gun thing. Like, that was weird. But I liked that he spit the coins out that drunk little alien was putting inside of him.
I like the part where Poe is doing all that stuff. I know that part was a little weird in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I did like the part when like the theme was going on and BB-8 had all those arms.
Yeah, that part was cool. I liked DJ a lot. He was Benicio del Toro is a great actor, so I knew he was going to nail it.
He looks dirty. Like,
yeah, he looks like a dirty Brad Pitt, kind of, a little bit.
The bad part is I didn't
like his beard.
I wanted him to be a good guy. He seemed like a really good guy when he had that thing. He said bus conductor, and he handed it back to Rose.
Right.
I thought he was a good guy.
He's out for himself. He said, today they shoot you, tomorrow you shoot them. It's all business. And that's true to the character, I think. I thought he was really cool. He was a very cool character.
I wouldn't say he's First Order completely, though.
No, he's out for himself. That's why he said. That's what I just said. And BB-8 also operated a walker for a few minutes there. That was kind of cool, and he helped Finn. And,
I wish R2
Rose
had more, though.
Yeah. I like those animals they rode.
Yeah, so that whole Canto Bight part was weird to me, but I did like that they revisited that at the end with the kids, that when they showed him at the end, and the kid had the ring for which is.
Did you see he used the Force?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys noticed that. Did you see him use the Force?
Yeah, he grabbed the broom.
He used the Force to grab the broom. Yeah, so maybe a potential future Jedi there.
And he had the ring, and
and the other, I think it was the other kid that had the ring, or was it the same one? But
no,
it
had
the Rebel insignia on it. They really went away from Resistance and more to Rebels in this movie. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
They went to an old Rebel base. They had old Rebel technology there. The screens,
that.
It was
like
cool.
The whole screen thing was like.
And when Finn was on the big dreadnought ship or whatever, and they called him Scum. Whoever called him Scum,
Rebel
was like
Scum.
Rebel Scum. So
I was like,
yeah, it was kind of cool to go back to that. I don't know if they'll call themselves the Rebellion again in the next movie, or if they're still the Resistance. But it was kind of cool.
The
to see them go that
Rebellion's
way.
cooler.
And I did like, that kid that used the Force to move the broom. Did you notice how he held the broom afterwards? He held it like a lightsaber.
Yeah, like this.
So that was an example of what I call maybe you guys have heard of this, when you say breaking the fourth wall. Have you heard that phrase before?
Yeah, I have.
So it's like when you're in a TV or a movie show, like Ferris Bueller does it. He's in a movie, but he breaks that wall and then looks at you as the audience and talks to you. Like that's not part of the movie, but it is. It's called breaking the fourth wall. We saw it a couple times in this movie. One was when the kid was playing with the Luke action figure at the end of the movie. That's like what happens on Earth, right? Because we all played with Luke action figures as kids. Also, when Kylo says to Rey, your parents are nobody, you have no place in this story. In the story of the movie that we're watching right now. It's kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit.
I've seen a lot of shows like really not good at this.
Well, these were subtle. That's why I liked them, because they weren't looking at the camera saying she doesn't belong in this story. He's talking to Rey, you don't belong in this story.
Like when he says, like when Ferris says, his friend are like, this is when my friend goes berserk and he screams.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Or like
that's
in TV
very
shows, like-
obviously breaking the fourth wall.
Like the very first episode of a TV show, they're like, oh, this is some, odd family, and then like their sister comes up and she says something, and they goes, that's my sister. She's she's like a real whatever, and then,
yeah. So these were like subtle, but I liked them. I enjoyed them very much. I thought they were cool little additions to the story. Is Phasma dead? Did we talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
I
not
think
dead.
she's dead.
Can Kylo still be redeemed?
Yes.
You both think so. That's interesting.
This is what I think. I don't think it's going to be really hard. He couldn't do it to Leia, but I think he wouldn't get redeemed by anyone except for Rey. Rey's going to be the one who's going to redeem him.
Okay, a couple things why he can't be redeemed and a couple things why he can. He can't because he killed his dad. It's not like blowing up Alderaan. Blowing up Alderaan is worse because you kill millions of people. But story-wise, killing your dad is a bigger deal, especially when your dad's Han Solo. Like, the audience will never forgive him for that. Can Leia forgive him for killing Han Solo? I mean,
And she was, and in the beginning, she was
She
like,
says her son's gone.
yeah,
she did.
I was
So
about
that's
to say.
another reason. Luke says, I can't save him. She goes, I realize that he's gone. Luke says, this is why he still maybe can be redeemed. Luke says, nobody is ever truly
Because
gone.
also, like, he saved Vader when no one thought you'd be gone after you blew up Alderaan
And Rey seems to have that belief that Kylo can be saved too. Now, he kind of slammed the door on that a little bit when he chose not to at the end of the movie. But we have a whole nother movie. So I'm going to say, yes, he can also, but I don't think he will. I think he dies the bad guy. And it's going to be kind of a sad death because I think he's a sympathetic bad guy. I think we kind of relate to him a little bit. He's the bad guy that you root for. You root for him over Hux. You root for him over Snoke. But he's a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a sympathetic bad guy, and I think that he'll die a bad guy, and it's going to be sad. Like Gollum.
You know what?
Oh my gosh, Gollum.
You know what? I think I agree because Snoke's dead and
Hey, you know
Kylo.
that?
We saw his face. They showed a close-up of his dead face with his tongue sticking out. His eye was like rolled back.
I was laughing so hard at that part.
And then his body like continued to tumble around at that part, right? Didn't like his legs fall down or something?
Yes, when Hux and the leg fell down,
Yeah.
I was trying. Yeah, it was
The ship
really
was
funny.
That was
like
pretty
the-
dark. It was pretty dark.
This was a dark movie.
What's the darkest part of Star Wars too? Like in the movies.
In
Of
the
any
movies?
of any movie? Any Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
Probably when
They're
Anakin cuts
everywhere.
off Dooku's head.
Oh yeah, that was like visual.
Yeah.
No.
And you
Well-
heard, you could see it kind of rolling in the background and you heard it. Like, you didn't focus on it, but you're like, dude, that guy's head just got cut off.
What do you mean by dark? The most like, oh my gosh, kind of cut off, or like the like that's just messed up. Like that's
However you want to define dark, I guess.
I do. They're everywhere. Master Skywalker, and their lightsaber ignites.
When what are we going to do when he kills all the younglings?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a dark
Or
moment.
when he's like, I don't know what it was, robot chicken, and he's like, honey, I brought you flowers, and
Yeah.
because he killed all of the younglings.
Yeah, she screams. All right, so that's all I had. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we take our break? We are going to take a break.
Great
We're
movie.
going to go watch it again, and we'll come back and add our final thoughts. Do you guys have anything else you want to add right now?
Great movie.
Great movie. Jet? No?
Good.
Okay, so we're going to take a break, and we will be back in just a little bit.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
And we're back. Hello. This is the 5 to 1 crew. And you maybe can tell from the tone of our voices. Man, we are happy. We are happy and excited. We just got back from our second showing of The Last Jedi. And man, I don't know what happened between showing 1 and showing 2, but I love it. I
loved
loved
it
it
so
this
much
time.
better.
It was
Kate,
way better.
I don't know what it was. Maybe I know we went to a better theater. It had a IMAX screen and the better sound, and that helped the experience. Maybe just kind of knowing some of the things that bothered me the first time, I paid attention to them this time, and they weren't so bad. The comedy wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
The counting of the ships, Kate and I counted the ships. The numbers actually kind of made sense.
They did. They did. And like, it wasn't like only the heroes that died for the speeders. There was actually some random people that survived.
Yeah, and we counted.
And my favorite.
we counted Kate's favorite, whose name we need to learn, some weird looking alien. There were 30 transport ships that left the main ship, and there were like 5 or 6 that survived. And that kind of made sense to me. And then when they got to the planet, we counted 15 of those speeders. We counted everyone that died, and then we said there should be 4 left.
Yeah.
And there were 4 left. There were exactly 4 left. So it made sense. I still had a problem with the tactic of them just staying out of range. They kind of addressed it. There was one line in the movie where they said they're lighter and faster than us, but they can't run away. They can just stay out of our range.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can't catch up just because they're bigger and slower. I still don't know why they couldn't have taken one of those Star Destroyers and done a, hyperspace.
Two like in opposite directions in like a V formation, just boom, and then like cut them off right there.
Yeah, I don't know if they can do hyperspace that precisely, but I think they can because we saw Han Solo do hyperspace in The Force Awakens with Millennium Falcon and land right on the planet. Yeah, right next. I mean, it was a crash landing, but still pretty precise. Not everybody's Han Solo though, and not everybody has a Millennium Falcon. So much better. What were some other things we noticed? C-3PO. He had 2 golden arms.
Yes,
we
I
talked
knew
about
it.
that.
I pointed that out, by the way.
I already knew that. But, like,
Credits
I
to me for knowing that. Go follow me at Cade.
We also have to credit Cade.
Moore.
He was right about the Praetorians' arms. They were able to block the lightsaber. I don't think it would have held up, but they did block it on one of the blows, so Cade got that right too. And Cade was right about the books being on the Millennium Falcon.
Yes, they were in the locker room.
Jet's still not convinced.
But for 2 things. First of all, I mean, if they were, they'd make it a little bit more noticeable than just.
They were pretty
Well,
noticeable.
here's the thing. Why would they show them at all? There was no reason to show that scene where...
Yeah,
what did Poe grab out of that drawer?
This is some sort of tool or
You
something.
don't even know. There's no reason to
Yeah.
even show it unless they were trying to show those books. Rey took them and put them in the Millennium Falcon, and Luke didn't know. They're there. She has them. So there's that. There were 2 sons that set when Luke died. You guys saw it this time.
There's 2.
What else did we talk about that we weren't sure about?
He's so strong in the Force. He made another son.
Yeah.
He gathered all the dust and space and all the other gunk, and then he combined it together with heat and pressure, and boom, there's a sun.
Yeah.
And then it died right after.
Jet, what else did you notice this time around? You said you were more into Kylo than you were before.
Oh my gosh. Dude, Kylo Ren is so awesome. He might be my favorite. It's either him or Rey.
Yeah. The flying Leia, did it bother you as much this time?
It was
quicker than before.
It was still
I feel like last
weird.
time it was like
Still
forever.
weird.
Like, oh, what are we still watching this for?
It was still weird. I kind of thought, because I said before that I kind of wish she had died at that scene. And then I thought, well, no. Now I kind of wish the girl with the purple hair that took over when Leia was hurt, she's the one who flew the ship.
Cruiser.
Cruiser at hyperspace or faster than light or whatever they call it in Star Wars, hyperspace, through the other ship. I think
speed.
that would have been cool if Leia had done that. I think that would have been a good way for her
To go out.
But
There was a lot of really honorable deaths, I'd
Yeah.
say. There was that one girl, the Asian girl in the beginning.
yeah, the
who-
sister.
Yeah, the sister who.
Do you know
who
what?
Took one for,
Sister.
You know the
took one for the fleet and killed herself in the whole dreadnought.
Yeah.
And was another honorable death.
What, Jet, what you were going to say while Kate thinks about it?
You know, I was confused the first time I watched it because at first when I saw her, I thought that was Rose.
I did too.
And
she died right away.
Yeah, and then I was like, what? No way. I mean,
Yeah.
what? They said that she was going to be big, and then later I figured out that was Rose, and she's like,
Right.
the new Rose is huge. Well, the Rose is just huge.
Something else we pointed out before was
D-Rose.
that Finn's mission was kind of pointless because it failed.
Yeah.
And we thought about this more in the car. Not only did it fail, but it actually really hurt them because of that mission, DJ was able to tell the First Order about the transport ships leaving. And otherwise, they never would have attacked the transport ships. They would have made it to that planet fine. They ended up losing, of the 30 transport ships, about 25 of them.
Yeah.
Because of that mission, right? So I liked that I tied up some loose ends the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
I liked that. What else?
Like the whole movie took place in space.
Pretty much. There was very little on the planet. I mean, except for Rey and Luke.
Yeah.
Their training. Let's see. I still thought there was not enough R2, but I still really liked it was R2 showing that message that prompted Luke to start training Rey.
Yeah.
Because he would, right after he saw that, he went and said to Rey, tomorrow morning at dawn, we start your training 3 lessons.
But the thing that still bothered me the most is the part with the lightsaber.
When he threw it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that did bother me still, too. Yeah, but I still laughed when the porgs were almost killed by it. That was funny.
That one porg was just like stepping on the button that you press up to like turn it on, and the guy was like, the other porg was just like looking like down the barrel, like.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, go ahead, Jet.
I'm like, seriously, this cutest creature in Star Wars is the porg. Like, it made me basically cry when that porg was crying at Chewie.
Right.
It's so cute.
It was cute. But there were 2 other things that really bothered me before that I've kind of softened on. One was Luke's death. I still don't want him to die, but maybe because I knew it was going to happen, I was prepared for it. It didn't burden me as much.
Was
but
Mark
also,
Hamill like Harrison Ford, like not wanting to do Star Wars anymore, wanting his character to run his course throughout?
not the same as Harrison, but similar in the when they all reconvened. Well, okay, let me go back even further. The convention circuit, where the Star Wars fans go to these conventions, Mark Hamill wouldn't do them for a long time. He kind of wanted to distance himself from Star Wars and have a career that was not Star Wars. And I think it stemmed from the fact that him and Harrison both started their careers with Star Wars. Harrison had this brilliant career afterwards. He did many other things. Mark Hamill didn't. He never had this big acting career.
You did Joker. And
He did
stuff.
he did a lot of voice work and animated stuff, but he never was really able to shed the Luke Skywalker role. That's all anybody ever saw him as. So I think he wanted career-wise to distance himself, so he didn't participate. When they reconvened for The Force Awakens, when George Lucas tried to get everybody back on board, he said Harrison was the first one to come back, and he had to convince Mark. He had to say, Mark, they're not going to do it if we don't all come back, so I need you to come back. And then Mark is like, wow, Harrison Ford's calling me. Yeah, I'll do it. That's, so, yes and no. But I think it also softened for me this time because I think Luke's going to be in the next movie.
He is. He's gonna have a role in it.
He's gonna be a spirit.
There's gonna
We'll
be
see a
voices, or like, I mean, like he didn't go out dying.
He
really,
even told
like,
Kylo, he's like, see you around, kid.
Yeah,
So he'll be there for Kylo, he'll be there for Rey, and it's going to be interesting.
he'll be
And
emotional support for both.
I think I'm okay with it. The other thing that really bothered me was Rey coming from nothing. I am now like 90% convinced that is misdirection.
Yeah,
Because they made such a big point of saying everybody's last name, Ben Solo, Luke Skywalker, Rey, nothing.
Yeah, just
you came from nothing. You started from nothing. You are nothing.
Yeah,
to me.
and I think that they even made it a big point in this movie. Who are my parents? Who are my parents? And she went through that whole when she dove down into that thing and touched it. Yeah,
yeah.
that part.
I mean,
I think it's misdirection. Either Kylo's lying and he lied to her to try to convince her to join his side, right? Or something that he was shown was not true.
Snoke maybe.
I'm like
And
90.
they're still connected. They're still connected through the Force.
They do still have their mind connection.
Yeah, because they
At
looked,
first, when I
but
saw it, I was
Rey-
confused because I thought they like disconnected after Snoke died.
Yeah.
So when I saw him looking up and then like what's it called, Millennium Falcon door is opening, I'm like, wait,
Is he there?
what? He sees her right there. How come he's not killing her?
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, he's in
They
the
still
base.
the bridge is still there. So yeah, that'll be interesting how they continue that in the next movie. But yeah, I'm not so sad about that because I think that it's misdirection. I really do. I think we'll find out. I think that's going to be a big reveal in episode 9. Oh, by the way, your parents are actually blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want to rank it now?
I don't know. I'll give it till tomorrow to rank it.
It's hard for me to rank right now. The only movie I can really compare it to is The Force Awakens.
Because those are the two recent ones.
It's-
They're similar.
Do you
they're the
want?
same story.
Do you want to know my order?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go from number 1 to number,
9.
yeah.
30.
Number 1, A New Hope. Number 2, Empire Strikes Back. Number 3, Return of the Jedi. Number 4, The Force Awakens. Number 5, The Last Jedi. Number 6, Revenge of the Sith. Phantom Menace. Rogue One. Attack of the Clones.
So it moved up one spot for you, but it was a big one spot because it was probably way behind Revenge of the Sith, and now it's ahead. And you said very
By a
close,
good bit.
and very close to the Force Awakens for you.
You know what? I might put it above. I have to think about it.
Okay.
It's so hard, but
What was your wait?
It's just I just
Okay.
can't. I remember The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's so good.
For me, I told you guys in the car. I'll say it again here for the podcast. The first time I saw The Force Awakens, I was in love with that movie. I was on cloud 9 after the movie. We talked about it in the car the whole way home. I was so excited. The next few times I saw it, each time it dropped a little bit. When I first saw it, I
It
had
was
it.
so much fun though going to see it.
Yeah, it was still great, and I still loved it. But it just came down a little bit each time. And at first, I was thinking even of putting it ahead of Return of the Jedi. The first time I saw it, I loved it
Whoa,
that much.
wow.
And it's definitely behind it for me now. But The Last Jedi has had the opposite effect. When I first saw it, I was obviously very disappointed. I had it ranked way low. Now for me, it's higher than the Force Awakens, but I don't know if that's because it's on its way up and The Force Awakens is on its way down. I don't know. It's neck and neck, and I love them both, and they're going to be 4 and 5 for me, but I don't know which one is which at this point.
Yeah, they're
You know
about
what?
high, huh? I don't really know.
Now that I think about it, The Force Awakens is gonna be above it forever. Do you know why?
Why?
Because that end scene that just went to me
Yeah.
when the Kylo Ren and Rey. Not that when that lightsaber went in her hand. I'm
that
like,
part was
this
so
is the
cool.
movie.
Yeah. That part was really cool.
I'm gonna have to go with TFA.
Yeah. All right, man. I don't know how to like summarize it anymore. If you listen to this podcast, the first hour and 20 minutes or however long it was, well, we're at an hour 20 now. The first hour and 5 minutes, we were kind of low on it, and the last 15 minutes were really high. If you feel like us after the first time you see this movie, all I can say is go see it again. It made a big difference for us.
If you didn't like it the first time, just go and watch it again and just appreciate everything about
And
it. Make
Kylo
sure you're in a
Ren.
good theater too.
Yeah, the theater made a difference. I think I struggled so much with the fact that I didn't really like it. I might have talked myself into liking it. I'm not going to rule that out as a possibility. But man, I loved it this time around. So much more.
Dude, you kind of talked your way out of it, but it's just mostly that you just gotta think on the bright side of it.
Yeah, be a fan.
It's good.
Yeah, I agree. You guys want to add anything else before we wrap this up?
Great movie.
Great movie. All right. Well, Jet, do we know what we want to do for our next episode?
Top 5 dishes from Chili's.
No, listen, we've got probably one more episode before Christmas. We should make it something Christmas related. Last year we did Christmas movies. This year I say we do Christmas music.
Music?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
All right. So thank you to everybody for taking the time to listen. We got a Facebook page. We got an Instagram page. We got a Twitter account. Add us, follow us, tweet us, all of those things.
And call
It's
us.
all 5 to 1 podcast. All of the handles are the same. Yes, please call us 469-607-521. That's 469-607-5861. Please join us next time on 5 to 1 for our discussion on
Top 5 Christmas music.
yeah.
I
that's it.
hope you enjoyed, but it was a boring conversation anyway.
Good job.
By the one, so it's guaranteed you can know you.